Hey guys, welcome back to another week of looking beyond the dividend. I always talk about my wife and my portfolio and how we really like to find those stocks that have a good capital appreciation in our investment, but also good growth within their dividend that pay us monthly or quarterly. And I don't often talk about real estate investment trusts much, mainly because my own personal opinion on REITs is that they are a great source of income, typically monthly, but the capital appreciation is usually not there on a grand scale. This week, I'm going to talk about a company that falls directly into that category right now with high inflation and still high interest rates. This is a company that pays a great monthly dividend, but their capital appreciation has not only not increased of late, it's actually dropped quite a bit. But there's a reason for optimism. Stick around. So I'm going to hold you off just a little bit longer while I explain to you my approach to real estate investment trusts. I don't often put a lot of money in REITs only because, as I said, they're very good sources of income, typically monthly, but the capital appreciation for them is generally not something that really does well. It does okay in the ones I've been in, but it doesn't really do real well over time. So when I look at a real estate investment trust and whether or not I want to get involved, I guess the biggest question for me is what is it, or what is the specialty area, if you will? Are we talking about an office? Are we talking about a strip mall? Are we, various things? And a few weeks back, I talked about Northwest Healthcare, and Northwest Healthcare was a good example of one that really intrigued me because of their client base. With hospitals being a good large portion of that client base, hospitals' funding is guaranteed by the government, and a lot of cases tied to inflationary measures, so that rental costs will go up, meaning that source of monthly income coming into that REIT is all but guaranteed, if you will. So that's why I'm really excited about Northwest Healthcare, even though the stock itself has really dropped and not done well. I know that there's not really going to be a real hard possibility of my dividend getting cut because those monthly cash flows are still coming in. The stock that we're going to talk about this week is Slate Grocery. And Slate Grocery is another example of a really almost recession proof company because all of the real estate that they own is in the grocery industry, or the vast majority is in the grocery industry. Ironically, it's a stock based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, but all of the properties and all of the malls and such that this REIT holds are located in the United States. And when I look at, very similar to Northwest Healthcare, getting food from a grocery store is not something that we typically have a choice over. We can choose to rent office space for our business. We can choose to go to a strip mall, to a store. We don't typically get to choose whether or not we want to go to a healthcare provider for our healthcare needs, nor do we typically get to choose if we want to go get food for our families to eat. We all need to go to grocery stores to get our sustainable food. So again, Slate Grocery is one of those companies when I look at a real estate investment trust that I think, I'm not overly optimistic always about REITs, but this is one that I think is pretty safe. So a little bit about Slate Grocery. $2 billion in assets. They own 117 different properties across 24 states within the US, and they have a total square footage of 15.3 million square feet. They hold tenants like Walmart, Kroger, Publix, and Tops Friendly Markets, huge national grocery chains. And as I said earlier, that is the focus, but they also have tenants like Dollar Tree, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, and Kohl's, very large companies within their sectors as well. And one of the things I found very, very interesting is that their top 15 tenants constitute, 35% of the base rent that they bring in on a monthly basis. So these are large, well established companies with very little failure possibility. The other thing that I found very, very interesting is that they have almost no single tenant risk, meaning they don't have a company like Marksy, ABC, XYZ in one location across those 24 states. All of these states and all of these different locations have these tenants like Walmart, Publix, and Kroger. So there is that lessened fear, if you will, because there's such well-established companies in these locations. No fear of this rent being forfeited and therefore our dividend being cut. So, what are the downsides? Well, if you watched my video on Northwest Healthcare, you might as well just go back and look at that. I almost feel like I'm a broken record lately when I talk about every company each week because of the current situation that we're in with interest rates. Slate Grocery is like many other companies. They do have probably a little bit higher amount of debt than a lot of the companies that I've invested in. But the interest rates being what they are, it's exacerbating that number and making it look a lot worse than things really are. Again, just my opinion. But here's some facts that I would throw at you that with current pricing, as of last close of the last market date here in Canada, Slate Grocery is currently trading at $12.70 Canadian, offering you a 9.29% dividend yield. So if this is a company, and again, do your own due diligence and make your own decisions. If this is a company that you think is going to be successful, and once rates return to normal, if you think this is a company that might be able to give you a good return for your money on your monthly dividend, 9.29%, and given the field that they're in, to me, this is a no brainer. We're already in it, and we may be picking up a little bit more. But as I said, do your own due diligence and make sure the investments that you get into, you choose for yourself. That's going to wrap it up for this week. Looking beyond the dividend, today we talked about Slate Grocery REIT, sgr.un.to on the Toronto Stock Exchange. I wanted to thank you for sticking around and checking out this video. And as I always ask at the end of each video, if you've enjoyed this video or any of the other videos you've seen, I would please encourage you to hit that subscribe and that like button. Until next time, take care and we'll talk to you soon.